Sonic Rumble, the upcoming mobile and PC title that has had such a rough time this past year, aiming for a winter 2024 or early 2025 global release, only for it to unfortunately get delayed, inevitably, as everyone who doesn't have access to the game are forced to watch and see everyone who does have access to the game play the game and talk about how fun it is. It can definitely come off as heartbreaking to be left out of the fun. With the delay, there's been a ton of misinformation regarding the release window for the game, as the recent release date on the Google Play Store and Apple App Store changes often. I explained a little bit about this in my really short 2-minute video if you're interested in that being cleared up for you. And as of writing this today on July 30th, the game has just entered its technical 7th preseason, despite it being titled Preseason 6. When pre-launch began, they started the game with Preseason 0, meaning a total of 7 seasons have been completely inaccessible to the worldwide audience. You can clearly tell that the team was really hoping the game would be in a better state when Preseason 4 rolled around, as the theme of the season was Sonic and the Black Knight, and alongside that, we got the Sonic Movie 3 crossover event, which has been said will rerun sometime after global launch, so not everyone will have missed out on that. Additionally, when Preseason 4 launched, they completely revamped the gameplay of the game, revamping some of the emotes into what they now call skills, to try and give the game a pay-to-win advantage. Which, let's be honest, there shouldn't be any kind of confusion for this. Sonic Rumble is going to be a free-to-play game with battle passes, so of course pay-to-win was and has always been the overall approach to this game. But because the game was in pre-release, the team took it upon themselves to try and ease those playing the game into a more pay-to-win environment. We're now on Preseason 6, and as I've said before in my video talking about whether or not if Sonic Rumble was still worth it, ever since this game's announcement, the amount of content I put out dedicated to the game, hundreds of hours I've poured into play the game on mobile, just recently clocking in to just above 160 hours on Steam. I jokingly say that I'm a huge shill for the game. Honestly, I think I always will be. But with the recent stuff introduced and changed within the recent season, there are some criticisms that I have to fully and bluntly point out. A lot of these changes have drastically affected the outlook of the game for some people, mostly those who have played the game, but it's definitely painting a bit more of a doom and gloom kind of mindset for those who don't have access to the game to be even more fearful of the game's inevitable launch. Now, as a content creator, I have explored ways of being able to purchase things within the game due to certain methods that I will not go into. I've had a taste of these microtransactions, but since I no longer really play on mobile, the PC version is far superior, and I say that coming from someone who used to play on the latest iPhone. The Steam Early Access version of the game does not include microtransactions, so I cannot give a direct price here for most of the things that were changed. But from what I've been told, and from what I've read, things are not really looking good. The original price for the Battle Pass, which they refer to as the Premium Pass, used to cost $9.99 US. Same for event passes. Assuming they'll follow the same pricing, it's yet to be seen. But now, the Premium Pass is priced at a whopping 30 Canadian dollars, which translates roughly to about 21 US and some change, but to assume they're rounding the price up, it jumped up an extra $10, meaning the new price for Premium Pass is likely 20 US dollars, which in my opinion is a bit much, especially considering they didn't add anything extra to the pass to warrant a $10 price increase. Another change they've made, which upset a lot of people, is the Premium Pass Plus subscription, which boosts you all the way to being able to automatically claim the season's premium skin. Alongside this purchase, you used to get 400 Red Star rings. They've brought that down to 300 Red Star rings. As for the price of this, I'm not sure if it has changed from the usual $25 that I remember it being. If it has changed in the price, let me know in the comments down below. Now, for a while, Sonic Rumble has had an issue with pricing, at least in my opinion. I can't justify the pricing of some of the skins. I know they've made some adjustments to try and make it kind of justifiable, but even then, the small things that they've done hasn't still really been much of a thing that I find too valuable, at least to me. The most notable change is usually when a new skin is available in the Red Star Ring Shop, it'll come in at a discount, marking down the usual price of $999 to about $729, which is fine, but let me break it down further for you. The screenshot here showcases Red Star Ring bundles in the Canadian currency. I'm not sure if the prices have been adjusted within the recent season. As stated, I can't see microtransactions in the early access build of the game on Steam. Translating them into the US dollar, you're roughly looking at about $45 for 770 red star rings and roughly $95 for the 1700 red star rings bundle. Now let's think about this for a second. If the regular price for a skin is 999 red star rings, and if you don't have any red star rings at all, and the highest red star ring bundle you possibly can get in the game is 1700 red star rings, you're paying $95 for just one 999 red star ring skin. Or if it's at a discount, $45 for just one red star ring skin. You do the math, it doesn't look pretty at all. Now, these are skins that definitely aren't worth that much. You can find skins that can be purchased with the red star rings that are usually classified as an epic skin for around 299 red star rings, which is way less than what you'd pay for the new legendary skin, even if it were at a discounted price. They have adjusted some bundles for red star rings to be a bit more than what they used to be, and on top of that, if you're buying a bundle with red star rings and you already own some of the items in that bundle, they're not going to discount the bundle for you and instead exchange the item you already own for 10 red star rings. Red star rings are the economy of this game, and the only way you can obtain them is either by playing the game, which eventually gets to a point where you won't be earning them at all, or purchasing them with real money. Let's take a look at another game. Fortnite. Fortnite definitely has some pretty expensive skins, but the most I've seen anyone ever really spend on skins ranges from $15 to $25, sometimes $30 depending on what it is, and that's all. I have never seen a skin go anywhere beyond that price point. So you can imagine how I feel about the majority of the pricing for these skins, especially those who have spent the money to purchase them. If you've made it this far into the video, you may be wondering, wait, the title of this video is How Sonic Rumble Will Succeed, not Dave complains about overpriced microtransactions in a pay-to-win game, and I'll get to that. I'm just wanting to point out some of the major issues that the game has right now, and then we'll expand on this later. So let's get a bit more into another nitpick that I have. The current state of the game. The recent maintenance announcement mentioned something very interesting: server equipment adjustments. The game for the longest time has had an issue with desync, which is common for online multiplayer games to have, but only to a certain extent. You see, the desync in Rumble can be seen as a huge game breaker, sometimes having the connection not work out at all in your favor, kicking you from the game, to even having instances where on your screen you're leagues ahead of everyone even if you cross the finish line, but instead of getting first like you thought you were getting, you end up being dished out to 5th place somehow. Some minigames, such as team minigames, suffer the most from desync, especially the City Escape team minigame, where you're basically playing soccer with bombs. All it takes is for one side to have the better connection, and the rest of the game just doesn't matter. I've seen some people suggesting limiting team games to squads only, and I'm not opposed to that idea. Would definitely give more variety towards the squad mode to house a ton of team-based minigames, and leaving ring survival to the more competitive winner-takes-all kind of mode, as it's supposed to be. Another thing people have been asking for since the beginning has been an increased friends list limit, which was only sort of temporarily addressed. If we take a look at the new clans or crews feature, it allows you to have up to 32 players together in a crew. You can send predefined chat messages, stickers, etc., and even invite people to join your lobby even if they're not on your friends list. But overall, I feel like the friends list definitely need to be expanded past the 25 player limit. Having a limit of 50 to 100 seems like it'd be a bit more reasonable in my honest opinion. I also believe that certain events should be permanent modes as opposed to them being weekly events. Whether this is for testing or just the idea of making it so people will retain interest in playing ring survival, squads should no doubt be a permanently open mode. I know that it gives you rewards during the event while it's open, but sometimes playing ring survival when you just want to play in a team with friends against everyone else is a good break from the whole major part of the game, which would be very refreshing. Yes, I feel most people would gravitate towards squads more than ring survival, but let's be honest, of all the different modes Fortnite boasts, there are certainly ones that are more popular now compared to the original Battle Royale mode. Another issue that the game faces is with Rumble rankings, which seemed like it was meant to be a more competitive focused mode as opposed to ring survival. Instead, it's just a way to replace what was essentially the global leaderboard, rendering the use of that completely useless unless you're trying to just use it for bragging rights. While this wouldn't be that big of an issue, the major issue with it is that it's not skill-based when it should be. The thing that determines your place on Rumble ranking leaderboards is your overall score that you've obtained by playing the game, and what people have resorted to doing, since score can be easily and heavily manipulated. If you have the right combo of legendary cosmetics, you can stand AFK at the beginning of a match. And even though being AFK should be punishing them for losing the race overall, if you have a high enough score multiplier caused by the cosmetics that you're using, you'll obtain an S rank for that stage even if you went AFK and lost the entire first match of ring survival. This allows for AFK grinding these leaderboards with no real penalty towards the person abusing this method. After taking a break from Preseason 5 just because I couldn't deal with the consistent connection issues I faced while streaming the game, or just playing the game in general, coming back to it in Preseason 6, I can't really say that I felt much desync, but a friend of mine on stream got disconnected from a match and was stuck in an infinite loading screen every time they tried to get back in. On top of that, I have also heard people complaining about desync in the Sonic Rumble Discord server, so it seems that desync has not fully gone away. This seems to be a reoccurring issue with mid-tier mobile devices, a platform that they've been aiming to get functioning properly since the beginning, and was one of the major reasons why they delayed the game to begin with. While there seems to be some strides in making it more compatible with these devices, the more it becomes apparent that they weren't really aware of how many more issues they'd run into the more they kept adding on to the game, especially when the scope of porting it over to PC came on the horizon. Whether they'll decide to cut support for mid-tier mobile devices, it's yet to be seen, but every update seems to still be unstable for some. So two very clear big issues: monetization and overall performance for the game. It's a hard thing to sum up, but another major issue that I'm glad that they readdressed a little bit in their statement they released about the delay is that they're working on new ways to make the user experience for new players easier to understand and learn. Something I mostly pointed out with the skill system. When it first was introduced, unless you actively look for the information in the user guide that can be found hidden away in the game's sub-menu, you'll learn many different things about the game. Why this is hidden away, I'm not really sure. The skill system, in my honest opinion, is really overwhelming for someone like me who has been a long-time player, and especially for someone who's a newcomer to the game. In your character select screen, you'll come across various sub-menus, one of them being the skills. But at first glance, you'll notice that the skills can only be assigned for specific game modes. This introduces a wide variety of strategy to take into mind. You have skills that are universal, but also skills that are tied to specific characters. So you have all these different skills you can purchase and choose from, and then assign for a specific game mode to play in. Cool, but what's this? A secondary skill menu? One where you can select just 2 skills to use no matter what stage you're on? That is also an option. Now, I usually just run this option because I don't really think there's much going on with the first option for skill use, as there really isn't any kind of strategy that I personally use or have seen that will make me play better. And most of the time I'm just using either baseball slide or another defensive move, and because I only ever really play as Metal Sonic and he only has 2 skills which pretty much do the exact same thing just with a different animation, I just stick with baseball slide and overheat. Each skill has a different ability, but pretty much all skills are just a reuse of a specific ability. Those abilities are movement, which allows the user to gain a boost of speed for a short amount of time; attack, which allows the user to attack other players around them; shield, or invincibility, which grants the user a bit of invincibility to avoid attacks; and absorption, which allows the user to magnetize rings towards them. Some skills are also locked to specific game modes, an example being Sonic's On Your Right skill, only being able to be used in run stages and nowhere else outside of that. You can tell which skills are limited to specific game modes from a specific icon featured on the skill. Of all the skills here, there have been some feedback regarding some pretty overpowered skills. The most notable overpowered skill being Ring Swipe, which allows players to gain an advantage by gathering more rings in ring battles with the click of a button. Another one being Charge Blast, which for some reason has a weird hitbox detection where you can still get hit by it even if you're nowhere near the user. It can easily be spammed. Aside from those skills being pretty much the most unbalanced in my opinion, what if I told you this recent season update brought in something that's very much even more overpowered? That's right, the new legendary skill that was introduced in the latest season, known as Cyclone Dash, is a universal skill, meaning any character can use it. And on top of that, it's not limited to any specific game mode. But what is the skill, you may ask? Basically, it's Sonic's On Your Right fused with Ring Swipe, meaning not only do you get rings magnetized towards you, you can do it in such a fast fashion that it makes it literally insanely hard to combat against. But with all that being said, You can, however, still win the game or at least make top 3 without the use of skills. I've done it many times over the past few streams to showcase that skills aren't really that much of a difference for overall gameplay unless you're specifically using the skills to try and get your own advantage gain over another player specifically. Now, with all of that aside, let's get into why and how Sonic Rumble will succeed. For starters, it's an upcoming free-to-play mobile game. And you know what people love more than anything? Something that's free. While the game has been only delayed twice and is actively being promoted as if the game were already out to the masses, it definitely can be irritating to some and even annoying to see something you so desperately want access to seemingly shoving in your face something cool that you can't obtain because you don't have access to the title yet. But this is their way of reaching out to the audience that already has access to the game. Honestly, they could have handled this a bit better. The biggest suggestion to give for how they could have handled this better is via the news tab within the game, which they already pretty much do try to keep most important news flowing for the game through the use of the news section, but the game never notifies people of the news updates, and you'll never know if something is added there unless you're actively looking and remembering to do so. It'd be so much easier to have a news tab shortcut displayed on the main screen as opposed to it being hidden away in a sub-menu. You could easily just have the UI button that showcases news, and whenever something new is added, you could have it show a badge beside the icon for people to know there's something new that has been added to that section. Going this route, it allows everyone who has access to the game to be able to keep up with the different events, updates, etc., without having to go through publishing things on social media and upsetting fans who may not have access to the game. While I know that is definitely not a good idea to stop posting on a social media account to begin with, I think just limiting the social media account to posting adverts such as letting people know the game is coming soon or anything that the social media team has created video-wise to the account would be more than enough. Another thing that aids it in succeeding, even if the game doesn't drop the price of certain microtransactions, is that people will still buy it because they love the franchise and want to support the game. People forget that places like Twitter, YouTube, or just social media in general are just a small portion of the people that make up this world. Your average Sonic fan isn't always going to be keeping up with social media, like most die-hard fans do. Your average Sonic fan isn't going to look at the price and think it's unreasonable, might be a bit expensive, but not unreasonable to them to justify making that purchase. And how do I know people will still buy things even if they are somewhat overpriced in my opinion? The evidence is for how long the game has been active, people still bought the skins even if they disagreed with the price of the skin overall. I've yet to see one person not buy a skin that most would think, nah, I don't want that, because the skins are catered to being for people who enjoy that specific character. That's just the unfortunate fact for when it comes to microtransactions. They will sell because people will want to buy the skin no matter what the price is. While I do agree that the prices could definitely be toned down a large amount, the large majority are going to still value the skin purchase more than myself or anyone else who thinks the prices are too steep. Sonic has a large presence, probably a lot larger than it has been in quite a long while, thanks to the movies and the recent direction in the games that the franchise has taken. Sonic is more than just a gaming franchise. He is a brand that will continue to evolve. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is coming out later this year, and honestly, if it launches alongside Sonic Rumble, I really don't think Rumble is going to be overshadowed by Crossworlds, and I don't think Rumble will overshadow Crossworlds either, because both games aim to provide something different and would honestly complement one another, as opposed to trying to be better than the other. We're talking about a title that is going to be a full-priced game and a racing game at that. Not saying racing games are bad, but when comparing Crossworlds to Rumble, there's a huge difference for what both games are trying to achieve. Rumble will be a good getaway from Crossworlds when people want to take a break from that and go towards something more casual to play with friends, and vice versa. Both games will succeed at standing out on their own and will always have an active player base. Sonic Rumble is more than a Fall Guys-like game. I've seen it been called a Fall Guys clone multiple times, but it's more than Fall Guys. It takes various aspects from Sonic games and implements them into minigames so decently that it can stand out to being 100% different from Fall Guys. The movement of the game is nothing like Fall. The skins being the actual characters themselves makes it personally more enticing than Fall Guys, as it feels like I'm actually playing the character I selected. If anything, Sonic Rumble is the online party game that Sonic has been needing for the longest time. And when it's polished up and people finally get their hands on it, they'll understand what makes Rumble stand out more for a mobile Sonic game. The potential for Rumble is really up there. The amount of things that they can do with it comes with endless possibilities. I can't wait for the launch of the game and see everyone finally getting to play the game after all this time. I genuinely believe that the wait for it will be worth it, and I'll be here for it. I'll always be Sonic Rumble's #1 fan in my book. I will push to make content on the game, and I will push to support the game as much as I possibly can, and honestly, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in right now if it had not been for you guys coming in and watching me play Rumble. So I really do appreciate all the support towards me and my hobby, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here with me on this crazy ride. Now that I'm done rambling, I won't hold you for too long. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions about Sonic Rumble in the comments down below. I'm really hoping things for Sonic Rumble shape up soon. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep with anything Sonic related, and of course, all things Rumble. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.